Hey there. Um, I guess this is more of a trying to fix people's brains as much as it is trying to understand kind of what's going on in general. Um, I'm 31. My name's James, and I don't know if anybody else is in that kind of position where you at 31 reach the age where you're kind of like, why? I'm not depressed. I've seen myself in different situations. I went to Keene High School in New Hampshire. I definitely didn't know. I didn't know where I was, let alone how would I even get to where I wanted to get to, even if I knew where I wanted to go. Um, I got out. I wanted to join the military because my mom and dad got divorced when they were together for 23 years. Um, had to deal with our losing the house, losing, you know, something that was halfway decent, that made childhoods feel like childhoods. It was the cliche cliche family, I would say. I had 3 or 4 different mental health issues when I was about 16 due to some relationships a couple times. Ended up in the mental hospital a couple times. I don't even really call them relationships. Looking back, they weren't, but I thought they were. Of course, you can't really have a relationship in high school. For some reason, I was deeply affected over it to the point of needing to be in the mental hospital. Um, Grew up with ADHD, diagnosed with it. Um, Got denied to join the Army. I did well. It was quite a defeat, but because I had had mental problems, they didn't want that. Um, Saw numerous mental health people when I was younger, as well as medication, which I'm on now. Um, I have sertraline, which is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and Adderall, which I hadn't been on for a long time, and loving the Adderall. Had a couple relationships, tried to go to college later on. I've had several jobs. That either ended on my own or ended because of a person or um, went to college, Landmark and Putney and NHTI and um, Concord, New Hampshire. Um, Played sports mainly in school, pre-high school. Fairly active. I've had these brief areas where I was weightlifting, but nothing real serious. I was in college. Before I went to college, I was working out routinely. Um, Ended up meeting a person when I was on vacation. What should have been just kind of a friends with benefits thing. Uh, Turned into following it. Um, Ended up going to NHTI with this person. We had a son at one point. She was we were younger and stuff. That for some reasons that didn't occur anymore. Um, we tried to get an apartment together, and things didn't go well. We'll skip a real bad event that I would say is not really the pinpoint of things, but I had various jobs. I guess I'll generally describe it. Both of us got in trouble for something out of um, lack of experience, the fragileness of kind of youth, I guess, of the lack of foundational qualities in that. Uh, so I had to stop going to school. She did as well. Um, she ended up leaving me weekly, daily, while we were in the apartment to, uh, based on evidence that I've seen, go have relationships with another guy at least, um, while I sat home and took care of my son, um, and as well as um, worked a full-time job, which I got up at 6 a.m. for. Eventually, one thing led to another, and she left for this probably other person. Um, and there one bad ending to one of the things I'm trying to point out. You know, that was another, fall from grace, we'll call it. Um, we ended up facing legal problems. I did. Ended up seeing each other sometime, and all of a sudden, contact order and stuff like that. And one thing led to another. Someone not making up their mind about what they wanted, what they didn't. And we were found out one day, and they said, well, the court order was already put in there. I got in trouble. She didn't want that. She didn't want anybody to get in trouble or anything, because we were both mutually together when we were. Um, but ended up doing a little bit of time for that. Uh, got labels over it and stuff like that. Currently now had gotten out and thought that things would start over, good things. Got a job working at a dishwasher quickly, and then went from there to a stocker shell, grocery stock. Uh, and ended up looking for something with less hours, but kind of more tip incentive. Went to a delivery job. Um, Suffered some abuses there after 2.5 years. Unfortunately, somebody had gotten into a fight with me. Um, that wasn't right, but it was a situation that was made to look like something it wasn't. Like I had started it in some way, shape, or form. Um, Even though someone had to defend themselves against two individuals, me. Um, Ended up meeting somebody. We met at Athens, and we were you know, kind of had the same personalities: realistic, logical, down to earth, fun, you know, not having to get into any kind of social group. You know, it's kind of like one of those cliche ideas of somebody who's really attractive personality wise. And had some ups and downs. I lost my apartment because of uh, there were certain individuals that were causing problems for me. I tried to do something about it after time and time again of trying to point it out. Nothing got done. One person thinks that I'm doing something. The landlord's calling me up saying, you need to, you've got a couple months left. Um, and there was the frustration of dealing with that over and over again. People going by, squealing their tires purposefully, throwing things in front of we had like a driveway that led up to a trailer park. Um, person end up I was sitting in my vehicle one day, not 110% sure, but this person slowed down and leaned out their window, um, and which seemed from my windshield window, this person was had tried to spit on my car. Um, and I mean, it was pretty clear. I like to think I know what something looks like. Um, there was that one event, so I had to leave my apartment. Started drinking heavily. In an effort to try and feel better. I basically started drinking almost in the morning every night, until I went to bed. Um, Sometimes going through a 12 pack in a day. Um, this other individual who I was with was still with me. We were halfway decent. A few times she wasn't there, or I'd have to say she was always there. But I eventually had another bad apartment situation that lasted a month or two, with people downstairs not being very appropriate with doors and stuff um, at early times of the morning. Um, had to leave there. Went to another job delivering. Ended up having issues with people kind of screwing me out of tips and delivery stuff. Um, and I was still continuing to drink, which probably wouldn't have been a good idea. That started to affect things. Um, we, at the time, were living in an attic in this other girl's her apartment. It's really not even an apartment, sharing a house with another individual who didn't make things very easy. She was older. Um, we eventually got an apartment in a local city, we were very excited for being in the situation we were in. And at one point, I thought that, wow, stability is starting to happen. Is this what I think it is? You know, is things gonna just be stable? Um, things were going well, but I had lost my job at this place for some. I had said something that my manager didn't like, but was true, and wasn't disrespectful or anything, just calling something what it was. And he didn't like that and told me, well, if that's the way you feel, then you need to leave. Um, money became an issue. I was paying $1,300 in rent. We were paying $1,300 in rent. And, you know, me and this person was like the only thing that was keeping me going. I said, well, if I still have this, but I started to go through a phase that I'm talking about right now, is this idea that I'll get to it, but things had become tenuous between me and this person. Financially, that led to some more negative side effects as well. Not treating people respectfully as you could, probably. I told this person that I wouldn't be drinking at all, which I had noticed that it had caused a problem. And she says, well, I don't want to ever see you drink again. I said, okay, I'm not going to. And I didn't. Because I had noticed that it had caused some issues. Um, and I thought we were in a stable situation. One day we had a kind of a back and slight back and forth, not argument, but became a very stressful interaction one day. Called each other a couple names, and she was interviewed or had dropped me off back at our place and said that she was going to go somewhere, and waited most of the day. She'll be back. She called me or texted me later that night and said that she was spending the night at her mother's. And I said, okay. She's an individual, if she'd say something, she means it. I haven't made any efforts to investigate it. Why? I wouldn't. But she had come back the next day and said that she was taking a few of her clothes with her. And I told her, what is this? What is this about? And she kept reiterating that she was sorry. But she had to do it. So we're not right for each other. She keeps on reiterating, this isn't easy, this isn't easy, this isn't easy. I said, what do you mean, this isn't easy? What you have to do, or... And obviously it was what she had to do. She didn't want to tell me. I said, listen, you just need to be honest, because I'll have a lot more respect for this. She says, well, I just don't want to hurt you. And I said, it's probably already there already. You know. You are a grown woman and you do whatever you wish. But she would say, well, I just don't feel the same way anymore. And I said, I don't feel the same way anymore the first day that we met either. I don't think anybody does. And this person, it's difficult to put into words the kind of loyalty that we had had previous, before this occurrence. And trying to figure out, and we had sent a few text messages like, hey, I don't think this is the right thing to do. I just picked up another job, or picked up a new job, and I said, let's give this an opportunity to see what it does. Obviously very made up kind of responses. And the kind of like traumatizing reality of almost like those bad dreams you have where everything's good and then out of a tree the boogeyman comes out. Those cliched dreams that you see on the movies and stuff, and to see somebody change in such a way that it's almost like you were going 60 miles an hour on a highway and then you just slam on the brakes. Kind of like that. So eventually the next week, she tells me she's coming over to grab all of her stuff. And I wanted to get upset. Not angry or anything. Because I felt like it was wrong what was going on. I said, what was the last couple years? Is this what you hoped for when was it supposed to be easy? Um, and she just continued to say that we're not right for each other. And uh, I said, but we've been right for each other for the last 2 years? Or we've been wrong for each other for the last 2 years? A silent notion went off in my head that something was going on that was more under the surface. I'm not sitting here telling somebody what they can and can't do, just pointing out the weirdness of a very abrupt change in an individual, which I felt with another individual at one point. And all the things that I thought might be happening were happening. Of course, this time I'm not looking at trying to investigate it. I probably spent 2 days ago, I started drinking again, and nightly. And then a couple days ago, um, I was probably I was laying on my bed, bawling my eyes out. It was alcohol induced, mostly. Had a lot to do with the gravity, but I kind of felt like that movie. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And just a few days ago, um, I received a 30-day notice for my apartment over this. Um, had to move back into my, um, well, temporarily into my dad's house, um, with the intention of doing something. But in the name of time, I'm probably going to make another video here. But in the next one, I'll be explaining what my predicament is now and looking for direction as well as insight. So, thanks.